Hi, this is Greg with Into the Raw, and today I want to talk about intuition, how to hear it and how to use it to make great decisions. Now, we all hear the phrase like follow your gut, listen to your intuition, and we all know that to be true. But nobody really goes deeper than that to describe how it all works or how to use it in everyday, day to day decisions. So, one, how I define intuition is that you got three different layers. You got the rational level, you have the emotional, and then you have the intuitive gut level intuition of perceiving things and processing information. So, for a juicy example, let's say I am a husband and I'm thinking about cheating on my wife. So, you have on that rational level, on one hand, picturing the thrill of cheating with perhaps a particular woman and the whole romantic and sexy experience of it all happening. And then of course you have the other side of the picture is the risk of getting caught and the consequences of that. And there might be a third one, which is how a moral man and you should do the righteous thing and not even be thinking about it. So there's these different stories that are playing out on the rational level. And then linked up with all of those, there's the emotional band. So of course there's the sexual excitement along with the actual cheating. There's the fear perhaps around the risk of getting caught and all of the consequences that play out. And then of course there's the guilt which might be happening with even thinking about doing it and goes against your idea of the kind of man that you are. And so most people, they just stop there. They bounce back and forth between all the different scenarios. They might ask their friends or do a pros and cons list and then ultimately just choose one. But of course, there is beneath those layers a third layer, which is your intuition, which is despite what your mind is thinking, despite what your emotions are saying, there's a side of you which just knows at a very primal level whether it's the right action or it's not the right action. So in this case, you might just know at the end of the day that it's the wrong thing to do. So you might choose to go against that, but it's just hearing that voice and hearing that knowing in those quiet moments. And for me, it's not a rational thing, it's not an emotional thing, it's a very primary yes or a no. It's actually very obvious. And what that feels like is, let's say you look at taking a path, potentially, let's say a career path or an option in school, whatever. As you look at that, you can actually feel into that third layer. And what it feels like if it's a no is that it's a contractive kind of, some people describe it as a drop in energy. It's just sort of a clench that makes life feel a little bit smaller, a little bit more depressing. And on the other hand, if you look at an option and it has the opposite, where it feels like an opening, expansive feeling, where it's actually a feeling of ease in your body, that's what a yes feels like at that intuitive gut level. So you can actually use it like a compass, like a barometer. So you look at path A, and then you tap into how that feels. And it feels like a yes or no, or some leaning towards a no. Okay, look at path B. How does that one feel? It feels a little more yes. Okay, look at path C. So you can actually use that barometer to make decisions in your whole everyday life. And this isn't anything new. If you look at the book Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda, he actually refers to this very concept as tuning into your heart radio. And it's the same thing. Just as you go through life, as you look at every situation and everything that comes at you, yes, you notice the rational level and yes, you notice the emotional, but you're really tapped into that third level at all times as you do this more and more. And you just know immediately all the way through your day how close or how far you are from being in alignment with your truth and with that yes feeling. What are some of the benefits of using your intuition when making decisions? Well, first of all, there's a lot of studies that's been coming out of the Navy ever since the Vietnam War, where these different platoon commanders would come back and they would tell stories about how they would sort of have an intuitive, in the moment decision to, for example, take cover, and then the whole platoon got attacked by enemy that they were surrounded by, and they ended up saving their lives and escaping. So like a lot of the studies have been done on testing just rational level versus the intuitive level, and they've been coming back saying that there's just a lot more wisdom and accuracy with the intuitive level. But mostly they're testing for just the instinctive in the moment kind of reaction. For me, as I've been using that bottom layer more and more in my life, I noticed some interesting things that happen. And one of them is that I've noticed that you're able to see around corners. And maybe you've even do this yourself, you notice the same thing. And what I mean by this is, let's say, for example, I feel an urgency to wake up, even though there's nothing to really wake up for, earlier than usual. So let's say for some reason I can sleep in that day, but at 8 o'clock, I'm just feeling this sudden urgency at that core level that it's time to get up. And this happened to me about 3 times or so in the last few months. And I would get up, and then suddenly there'd be a phone call which was completely unplanned and out of left field, where I gotta be, out the door in 10 minutes for something that's quite important. And on the flip side, I noticed that whenever I have a meeting planned or something serious, and I've got on that gut level an empty feeling towards it, just feels like there's just no substance to it. It feels hollow. Even though my mind is, in the rational level, is freaking out, saying, no, this meeting is really important. We gotta do it. But I keep forgetting about it, and at that core level, it's just got no substance. I find almost 9 times or 10 times out of 10 that meeting just falls through anyways. For some reason, the person forgets about it, or it just got canceled, or whatever. So I just noticed more and more that you can sort of see around corners. It has a little bit of an idea of what's to come, if you will. And it's really bizarre. It makes no sense for the Western society or for the logical mind to really process this, but don't just take my word for it and test it out for yourself. And another thing that's built into this is that, around the same idea of seeing around corners and knowing kind of if something's got substance or not, is this idea of feeling into and noticing when something has a charge to it. So this is noticing when there's a charge behind something or a buildup of energy versus an empty, hollow feeling. And I've noticed this in the last few months. A friend would come to me and talk about a business idea they have. And even though on the rational level, it makes perfect sense, it seems like a really good idea, on the emotional level, as they're describing to me, they're full of excitement and they're, really enthusiastic about it. But for me, as I'm hearing it, I just notice that there's this sort of a emptiness, there's a lack of substance. It feels like a hollow feeling whenever I imagine that project going to fruition. And of course, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, it doesn't happen. It just falls through. And on the flip side, whenever there's something that even seems really silly or minor, doesn't seem to have make any sense at a rational level, why? But it's got a lot of substance to it. It's got a lot of charge to it. I can just notice that there's something built up there. Those things tend to come with change and have a big impact on my life or on things. So this is another part of the intuition where it's not a rational thing, it's not an emotional thing, it's more of a very primal yes or no. It's a contracted versus opening, or if it's got a charge or hasn't got a charge. It's like sort of a really binary way of sensing into things. So how do we go about using our intuition in everyday situations? For me, I use it literally every day to organize my day for the small stuff as well as the big stuff. So for example, I do it if I, for example, want to do pricing on a project, and I have a client come back and ask for a discount, and if I got that really negative gutted feeling about actually offering the client a discount, I'll say no and just keep the price the way it is. And more often than not, the client is okay with that pricing and we move forward. And then those times when I do lower my pricing and I go against that feeling, let's say for example, it just makes rational sense why we should offer a lower price, because it's less work involved. In those situations, I end up usually getting burned. The project goes way over time than I could have foreseen it doing. I end up costing myself a lot of money. But in another situation, it's really case by case. I'll notice that if I'm asked to, for example, lower price and it feels like a yes to do it, I'll of course do it. So it comes to selecting clients, it comes to knowing which clients are the most high priority for that day to really spend time and energy on. It's kind of, I'll get weird intuitions, like a building up feeling that I have to reach out to somebody and contact a person, and I'll use it for that. And I'll do it for fitness too. How many times a week I should, go to the gym, or how many times I should do some martial arts classes, for example. And if you overtrain, you'll feel it. You'll feel it's too much. And if you undertrain, it's too little. So you'll find that sweet spot. And when you start to use that base level for all of the aspects of your life, it just brings everything into balance. And balance not for person over there, another person over there, but balance for you and for your unique situation. And the final application of using your intuition I want to share with you is to hold up all advice that you receive up against your intuition. So we live in this information age where bookshelves are, stacked to the gills with advice, and on social media and Twitter, we're constantly being bombarded with what practices to take on and what mindsets to adopt. A really empowering way to go about life is to have a filter. And that filter is every time someone gives you some advice or, says an opinion even that what you should do, you hold it up against that base level and you sort of see how much, to what degree it is in alignment with you. And if it is in alignment, sure, go ahead, adopt it. If it feels off, feel free to discard it and wait until something comes along that does resonate with you. The end result is that you get more and more in touch with this intuition, brings your life into more balance, more alignment, and is much superior over using just a rational mind. That's it for anyways. That's my 2 cents on the topic. Good luck. Until next time, talk soon.